before I get into the topic, I do want to say that everything that I'm going to be discussing and talking to you about tonight, I'm able to do so. It's because the Lord has delivered me. When I tell you that I am free in Christ Jesus, doesn't just include freedom from the wrath and curse of God and the penalty for my sin, which is the ultimate freedom that any person can ever experience. However, I'm free. I'm free from the behavioral bondage and the heavy chains of the cultural and social construct of Blackness. Just a quick refresher. When you hear me say the construct of Blackness, for those of you who are new here and you think you heard me say that I'm not Black, that's not what I said. Okay, that's not what I said. That may be what you heard, but that is not what I said. What I said is I am free from the cultural and social construct of Blackness, which on previous shows I have defined. And so Blackness as a political and social category, you have to remember Blackness is not a construct of dermal or external features, but rather it is an agent or mechanism of control, and it is used to encourage feelings of inferiority and oppression and victimhood. But not only that, Blackness also comes with it this very perverse, anti-God behavioral mindset, this attitude and disposition toward others that is antithetical to the gospel of Christ. And it doesn't seek peace with your fellow man, but rather it seeks chaos and discord, distrust, and all types of calamity. So let me be clear. Blackness, as I've defined it, is not a biblical category. And since I'm free in Jesus because he died for me and he purchased me with his blood, I told you guys a few weeks ago that I don't care who you are. I am sorry. I can't co-sign and take any part in any ideology or institution that is rooted in loathe and liberation and lawlessness. I can't do it. And so this is why the video that I did I think it was either last week or the week before, I'm losing track. The video that I did about Berean Seventh-day Adventist Church, who chose to invite Fulton County DA Fonnie Willis to stand in their pulpit to accept an award for her Blackness while ignoring her gross misconduct on behalf of the residents of Fulton County. You see, this is what makes Blackness such a source of idolatry, right? It's such a source of idolatry, and Blackness is what makes you do things like that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a little bit. I am going to be reacting to a video that I found where there were a few Chicago residents who were ripping in to Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. You guys, these ladies, they were expressing their anger and their frustration toward him. And it was actually a sight to see. And now while I could get excited and say, yes, this is promising, right? Like people are starting to wake up. I had to look a little deeper at this and explain to you why I can't quite pull out the pom-poms and celebrate, because there are just some fundamental things that need to happen first before we can break out the champagne. Or if you are a fundamental Baptist, we'll just say y'all will break out the Sprite. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into the video that inspired me to do this show tonight. Go ahead and take a look at this.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm sure everybody knows about a movie, Scarface, right? It's a classic, Al Pacino, right? Everybody knows about that movie. And we focus on the famous lines in that movie. You know, the acting and the hello to my little friend and all that. But it's the beginning of that movie that matters. When those words are coming up on that screen, That's what matters. And those words say, in May 1980, Fidel Castro opened the harbor at Muriel, Cuba, with the apparent intention of letting some of his people join their relatives in the United States. Within 72 hours, 3,000 U.S. boats were headed for Cuba. It soon became evident that Castro was forcing the boat owners to carry back with them not only their relatives, but the dregs of his jails. Of that 125,000 refugees that landed in Florida, an estimated 25,000 had criminal records.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's up. That's what has happened in the United States right now. All this asylum-seeking lie, all this about refugees, no. What's happening is they're emptying out the dregs of their jails into the United States, into our communities. They're junking up our country. And yeah, we feel some kind of way about it because it's our country.
That's right.
It's our country. People like Vasquez and them, look how disrespectful they are. Now you just gave that man a resolution for his father's restaurant. And every time we get up and talk, he's working this room. Look at him. Look at him. But he wants his resolution for his father to be respected. Vasquez, Lopez, all them want their people to be respected, but they can't even give us the dignity. But what we built, but them, ain't no question about it. Yeah, Black History Month, the American descendants of slavery. And I want you to know, Brandon Johnson, I understand what Breakmore's saying about we still on the plantation, but what you're looking at right now, this is what a free Negro look like. And I'm telling you, we're going to get our city back, we're going to stand for our people, we're going to get them out of our communities because they don't deserve to be there. Anytime they can't give us 3 lousy minutes of their attention while we sit here and watch y'all give them all kind of money, you watch us. We black out here. All right. And we gonna handle our business. You watch that. I'm a free black woman. All right. This is how we get down.
So angry here in Chicago, which has been a Democratic stronghold for most of its eternity. This year, we're working to turn Chicago red. We are so angry with Pritzker and with President Biden and with our mayor that we have decided that we're going to vote Republican this time around. Wow. That's just how angry we are. We are so angry that we are willing and going to turn our backs on the Democratic Party. I sat in some of those city council meetings and I looked at and I watched the aldermen totally disregard the voices of the people. And when I was going down there, we were coming down every week in the hundreds. And what we said did not matter. And when we were talking about changing Chicago's status as a sanctuary city, and keep in mind, we still have a right to do that. Just like Biden has the right to put forth an executive order to change the crisis at the border, Chicago's mayor has the right to put forth an executive order to change Chicago's sanctuary city.
Will he do it?
Of course he will not do it. If he was going to do it, it would have been done. And remember, there was a vote within City Council where the ordinance to change it was strucken down. And the mayor was the deciding vote.
Okay. So I want to play just a little bit. It's actually a clip from your Democratic mayor, Brandon Johnson, just after that City Council meeting yesterday that got pretty chippy. And at the end of the day, he is the one you are counting on in all of this, as you just said. It's his vote. It's his, in those meetings, it's his voice. It's his leadership that matters. Let's watch.
We're grateful that the state and the county is working towards providing more investments, even though we have to have a more substantive conversation about where those dollars will actually go.
So I just have one question. Chicago had a choice after Lori Lightfoot, who was breaking COVID protocols to go get her hair done and all sorts of things. They didn't have to go farther left with Brandon Johnson. Why did you vote for him?
I voted for Brandon Johnson because I knew him. I voted for Brandon Johnson because I thought that he would be good for Chicago. I voted for Brandon Johnson because, really, I didn't do my homework. Because had I done my homework and paid attention to the alliances and who he was with
boy.
and who groomed him, I would have known better and I would have voted differently. And that brings me to the challenge of really standing up and not just saying to Chicagoans or Illinoisans, but to all voters in this country, it is time for us to stand up and to vote our self-interest. We vote along party lines, especially as African Americans, and that needs to change. We need to start voting for people who are going to promote our self-interest. And that may not be a Democrat, and it may not be a Republican. It may be an independent candidate. It may be a Green Party candidate. But I think that now we have come to a point in this country where we have to stop marrying ourselves to party, stop voting along ethnic lines, because we're seeing that that is not working for us. And so that is why I will be voting Republican for the first time.
Wow, that is a lot. That's a lot of change. And it only took 3 years with one president to undo what you said, a lifetime of Democratic voting in Chicago, at least for you. Does it make a difference if Republicans come to see you this election cycle and talk about this issue on the ground in Chicago?
I think the Republicans need to come and see us. I think they need to come and talk to us because let me just say this, that the Republican Party has not been spotless. And there are certainly some issues that we would love to discuss with them that I think that we can have some common ground on. Okay. I think that we can agree to be disagreeable on some issues. But yes, this is the perfect time for the Republican Party to come into the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and sit down and talk to the people because we are looking for change.
Carter Truss, God bless you. Thank you so much. You put a lot on a lot of people's minds today. Illinois has spent more than $1 billion of Chicago tax money already on the people who are there. So the Illinois governor thinks he has the answer to it all. He's blaming Texas.
Abbott willfully planned the arrival of these individuals in locations and at times that would engender the maximum chaos for the city of Chicago. Think about that the next time a politician from Texas wants to lecture you about being a good Christian. They shouldn't leave it to the governor of Texas, who has no goal but to sow chaos and destruction.
So in this video, you guys, you witnessed two Black women expressing their righteous indignation, against what they have experienced at the hands of the Democrats who have run their city and their state pretty much for the last 40 or 50 years, maybe even longer. And you listened to not the first woman, but the second woman, y'all, she was going in. She talked about how, she's going to take her city back. She's going to stand for her people. And she is going to get them, the illegals, she's going to get them out of their communities. And you guys, she was passionate. Yeah, I mean, she was full of vigor. And you can see how many people, if you're watching this, or if you watched it, you would be a little bit inclined to kind of just jump up and be like, show you right, girlfriend. You better tell her, Martha. Now I don't know if her name is Martha, but just flow with it for a second. Y'all know how I make it up. And I will give you a name in a heartbeat. If I look at you, you look like a Martha. Your name is Martha. But Martha made several statements that were full of truth. I'm going to give her that. They were full of truth. But unfortunately, the reality of many of the statements that she made, Miss Martha has yet to, in my opinion, truly embrace. And that's part of the reason why she's finding herself standing there making the speech that she is making. What do I mean? I heard Martha say that this is our country. And you guys, y'all, she said it with a chest. She's like, this is our country, right? And she is right. She is right. I completely agree. I and so many others have tried to help people see and understand and truly embrace the notion that, yes, this is our country. But when somebody, Lord forbid, says, make America great again, so many of you and people like Miss Martha, they can't even get past the statement because their needle is too stuck on race trading and grievance. What do I mean? It's easy to say, this is our country, now that there's this imminent threat crouching at your door that includes people of unknown origin, right? It's easy to now say, this is our country. But honestly, in my heart of hearts, I do not believe that she really believes that this is her country. I would argue that she doesn't really believe that this is her country because up until this point, she and so many individuals like her have failed to function in freedom. Give me an opportunity to explain what I mean, but she has failed to function in freedom. Americans who actually believe and embrace the idea that this is their country, Americans who actually understand that they have inalienable rights granted to them by God and not the government, they know how to function in freedom and they don't recoil and get shaken when they hear the phrase, make America great again. When individuals who don't know how to function in freedom hear someone say, make America great again, the first thing they do is immediately recoil back in their minds to a time in history that they have no experience or personal point of reference for, right? They immediately start thinking about slavery and Jim Crow when most of the time, let's just be honest, they have no personal experience or firsthand knowledge of either of those. Now, there are some people who are still alive who actually, they were alive during Jim Crow and they experienced that. But the vast majority of those who are the most triggered when they hear make America great again, they have no concept of what anything of times in history past were like. And so here's the thing. Here is the part that no one wants to talk about or admit. These people, the ones who are upset, disgruntled, and just downright incensed with the reality of what's happening in their liberal controlled democratic cities and communities, is that they've been loyal to a party that were the actual ones responsible for both slavery and Jim Crow. And yet, they are triggered by those of us who recognize that America was great the day you were born here because you weren't born into slavery or Jim Crow. You have no idea what it's like to live under such a wicked and tumultuous circumstance because the people who came before you, they fought so that your reality would be different than theirs. Those are the people that sacrificed so that you can walk and function in freedom, and yet you still don't act like it. So here's the truth. You aren't just owed a great life just because you live here in America. But what America offers you and so many others is the privilege of being born here and making the best of the freedom that you have by making good decisions and properly functioning in the freedom that you've been given. No other nation in the world offers you that. And yet, you have so many people, they're looking to the government to give them something that the government cannot provide. I'm arguing that although these women are upset and angry and they seem to be waking up to some truth, I don't believe that they really believe that this country belongs to them, because if they did, they wouldn't keep voting for and perpetually supporting policies that have been effectively destroying this country and, more importantly, destroying their own communities. You guys, defunding the police, vowing to be a sanctuary city, choosing no cash bail, begging for socialism and all kinds of derivatives of it, and for the government to meet your every single waking need, doesn't promote generational wealth, nor does it promote any ideas that encourage human flourishing. So what I intend to demonstrate in this video tonight is that in both of those video clips that I showed you, those women, y'all brace yourself for this, those women are a product of what I have termed black breeding. They've been black bred. They've been black bred. So what is black breeding? Before you click out, black breeding is the process of mentally and emotionally torturing melanated Americans until consensual obedience to the tyranny of melanated Marxism and colored communism is achieved. That's what blackboarding is, or black breeding is. When you've been thoroughly black bred, you are beholden to the behavioral bondage that demands that you loathe anything and anyone that is anti-black. Black breeding, it seeks to liberate you from all things rooted in American capitalism, and it demands that you be committed. You got to be committed to all revolutionary activities that are designed to bring forth the downfall of America, and you don't even realize that you're doing it. And when you've been successfully black bred, you are so broken. You are broken to the point where you become an enemy to your own self. So both of these women, they are angry at the Democrats. One woman, she said, it's because of the Democrats, because she's mad at them because they're giving away their goods, right? Like they are upset that the Dems are giving away their stuff. Giving away their stuff to the illegals. She is mad. She is angry, and I get it. I understand it. But I need to push back and explain to you, how did we get here? Right? How did we get here? The second lady, she talked about how she and others are angry, and they're so angry that they're going to go ahead and they're going to vote for the Republicans this time. But my question is, why? Why are you just now becoming this angry? What have you been gaining all of this time for your undying loyalty and support? Outside of this illegal immigration crisis, why have you been so loyal and dedicated to the Democratic Party all these years? I would argue that the reason they've been so dedicated is because they were bred this way. It's the process that I've called black breeding. Lyndon B. Johnson said it out loud, and his words have come back to ring true. You've been black bred to give these godless and lawless Democrats your support. And you've been doing so all on the premise of blackness. Nothing else, just the blackness. Obama got into office all on the premise of blackness and nothing else. This was a trap from the beginning, and I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it back then because I was black bred. From the time I entered this world, like so many other people that look like me, I didn't know no better. But let me tell you, let me try to explain it to you. Have you ever heard of the concept of being waterboarded? Right? Put a one in the chat if you know what the torture mechanism of waterboarding is. Right? Waterboarding is a form of torture. And what they do is they cover the subject's face with like this thin piece of cloth. Right? And then those who are administering the torture, they pour water all over this cloth that's covering your face and pretty much your nose. And they pour the water so much so that the captive, the person that's being waterboarded, you're completely immobilized. You can't move. And the way it literally feels as if you were drowning. Why do they do this though? Why is waterboarding done? For one, it's a very extreme form of torture. When you are being waterboarded, The process, it is supposed to simulate the feeling of drowning. Just simulate the feeling of drowning. But here's the thing. That's not the case. You feel that you are drowning because you actually are drowning. You are being drowned slowly under controlled conditions at the behest of the individual or individuals who are administering the torture. So waterboarding is designed to get your compliance. It's done as a form of control to get you to give in to whatever it is that the ones who are torturing you want you to do. So in the same way, at the same time, Black Americans in this country, they haven't been physically waterboarded, but they sure have been psychologically and socially black bread. They are just swimming in the juice of the culture of blackness, and they've been drowning in it for the last 50 years under Democratic rule. You want to talk about your oppressors? After they've successfully black bread you, you will willingly bow down and comply to their demands without even realizing it. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give you some examples of what black breeding looks like. Because when you depend on big daddy government for everything, black breeding is what you get. When you depend on big daddy government, black breeding is the result. That is what you get. This is why there's a concerted effort to keep blacks dumbed down. This is why you have our children looking up to Sexy Red or a Cardi B, who's a music industry prostitute, who admitted to robbing men of their money. This is why she's elevated to sit down with a presidential nominee. Like that's supposed to be a flex. Like we're supposed to be like, yes, look at the best of us representing and sitting down with the commander in chief, right? Because of all of this in part, all of this is black breeding, mud culture. Mud culture is running rampant on purpose. I have defined mud culture. That's your menacing, unruly, and thuggish behavior. These Democrat-run cities, they are allowing these things to happen on purpose because they need you steeped. They need you steeped and wholly immersed in the construct of blackness. You're simply taught to ignore the connection between all that's happening and all that's going on in your communities with your willful and committed voting choices. They don't want you to make the connection. They want you to do what that lady did. She was like, I really wasn't paying attention. I didn't look at the policies. I was voting on color. That's that black breeding. That's what they want. The reality is that mud culture, what does mud culture create? Mud culture, all right. When I say this, y'all, I'm just saying it. Mud culture, it creates a continuous, vicious cycle of bastards having bastards. Why? Because the number one factor in all of these homes that they have in common, where all this deviant behavior, low skills, and poor capabilities for functioning in society, the number one factor that they all have in common is no father in the home. But not just that. I want to know, when are we going to talk about the small group of black men, the small percentage of black men who are impregnating the vast majority of the women? Why do so many of the women share the same baby daddy? You tell me that ain't mud culture. It's a form of black breeding. This is how mud culture is formed, which is one of the foundational tenets of blackness. You got to have it. Because when you've been thoroughly black bred, you don't speak out against mud culture, but rather you just make excuses for it. You celebrate it, or you just look the other way, like I don't even see that happening. I mean, it's not even that serious. That's what you do when you've been black bred, right? But I want to transition a bit because I've talked about mud culture, but I want to talk about Negroes for a minute. And see, now when I use the term Negroes, it's not in a derogatory sense. See, I'm a Negro, right? Negroes, those are my melanated ancestors who survived slavery, Reconstruction, and Jim Crow. Those are my people, right? They did not act like or live anything like those who live under the construct of blackness today. Different class of people, right? Negroes, they had a completely different set of values, right? Negroes were rooted in faith and family and freedom. And you may not like hearing this, and I get it. If you've been black bred, it's a struggle for you to hear this. But those values, faith, family, and freedom, they mirrored that of the Republican Party. Dare I say it? I know it hurts. You're like, oh. But where you think they get it from? That's where they got it from. I know you've been told that there was this party switch, and you've been told that the Republican Party is the party of the racist white man. But if you just took the time to just pick up a book and learn your history instead of listening to these Marxist-minded, boule indoctrinated, black-bred black folks who keep lying to you and pushing their godless and wicked agenda, such as your Joy Reids, your Roland Martins, your Al Sharptons, Tiffany Cross, Jamel Hill, your Whoopi Goldbergs, your beloved Oprah Winfrey, and let us not forget Barack Obama himself. And more importantly, the Democratic controlled clergy that you personally know. If you weren't listening to that, you might find yourself actually living and functioning in the freedom that you claim you don't have. But I digress. Anyway, Negroes. Negroes have always wanted small, limited government. Negroes, of who I identify with as my kinsmen according to the flesh, like Paul would refer to the Jews as his kinsmen according to the flesh. Negroes, they wanted the government to get the heck out of their way, right? Negroes, they were rooted in Christ. They were a strong people of faith, and their lives were centered around their faith. They had high marriage rates, high birth rates. Oh, they was having some babies. Low crime or hardly any crime at all. Yet, they were dealing with actual circumstances, such as legitimate discrimination based on their ethnicity. But at the hands of who? Y'all go ahead and tell me, who were the Negroes experiencing all of this discrimination? Whose hands were being the oppressor in this situation? Who did the Negroes suffer this mistreatment from? I'll answer it for you. It was the Dixiecrats. And do you know who they are? Those are your Democrats. Negroes were not weak. They survived slavery, Reconstruction, and Jim Crow. They weren't weak one bit. And when the Dixiecrats, aka the Democrats, reigned supreme, think your KKK, think that, right? These Negroes still managed to rise above their circumstances, understanding that relying on government is not how you get ahead in this life. Like my people, like the Negroes, like Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington, they understood that you are to go and get your own. Booker T taught that it's important for you to make yourself valuable by having a skill, having a trade, have something of value to offer, something that you have some leverage with, so that regardless of what color you are, you can compete. He taught us that you needed some sort of trade. You need a skill. You need something that's going to make you valuable. That's how you get ahead, because that's how you chart your own course, and you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about the government. Now, the only way to get out of poverty, you must produce, not consume. And here is what many fail to learn and understand. The government cannot lift you up out of poverty. You don't get up out of poverty by some government program. There isn't a program that the government can implement to lift you up out of poverty and help you pass on generational wealth. That's not even the job or the responsibility of government. And so Negroes were taught, go and get your own. But when you've been black bred in the construct of blackness, black breeding teaches you that you need a government program for equality and fair access. See, that's where you messed up, Leroy. However you are out there. I know there's a Leroy out there that is pushing back against what I'm saying because he's black bred or she's black bred. They can't see or think any other way. But once Negroes stopped being Negroes and started adopting the social construct of blackness, that's when they became black folks. And that's where our demise and our trajectory downward, that's where it began. So here's why I can't celebrate what appears to be this awakening and this aha moment that these two ladies in the video that I shared appear to be having. Because on the surface, this looks like a win. But in reality, something else has to happen. Because being angry and mad as heck at the Democrats, that is not enough, nor is it the answer to the problem. Now, I don't mean to be offensive. I don't. But when I say this, I need you to hear my heart. Because I have to speak this way in order for you to understand the weight and the gravity of what I'm trying to convey to you. All of the whining and the crying that the blacks are doing now, I hate to break it to you, but it's too late. It's too little. It's too late. Oh, I know the second lady. I know she felt like she dropped the mic and gave Brandon Johnson the business. But here's why I say it's a little premature for celebration. Because now you're going to have to, I need you to lean in a little bit. Because this one gonna hurt. Y'all know, normally when I say it's gonna hurt, I promise you will be better for it once the sting wears off. But here it go. This one gonna hurt a little bit. Blacks need to understand that the world doesn't revolve around them. I repeat, blacks need to understand that the world does not revolve around them. Now, if you are a Christian, you should already believe that. However, there are some who profess Christ, but because of all of the years of the black breeding, they really do believe that the world revolves around them. And why do I say that? The reason why I say that is because the Democrats, they created the construct of blackness known as the black community, right? They created that. And they created it on purpose to be a liberal, progressive business model so that they would retain political power for as long as you identify with the collective, right? As long as you can identify with the group, you are a source of power to them. But the Republican Party, that's a completely different animal. And I had to learn this the hard way. Because when I realized that I was a conservative by nature, but I was just conflicted by the culture that I was black bred in, it was difficult at first for me to embrace the Republican Party because I was trying to fit a liberal, progressive paradigm into this conservative way of thinking, and the two just don't fit. They don't go together because Republicans have never been, nor are they supposed to be, proponents of big government. And hear me clearly. I am this close to telling the GOP to go somewhere and kiss where the sun don't shine. But see, that's not real Christ-like. So what I'm going to say is, I am very close. I am very close to being an independent conservative. Because the party of my ancestors, the Negroes I was telling you about, they were fighters. But these neoconservatives who've infiltrated the Republican Party, they're a bunch of weak, spineless globalists. And they are the biggest compromisers I have ever seen in my life. My ancestors, the Negroes I was telling you about, they weren't weak compromisers who gave an inch in order just to go along, to get along. Because see, you don't abolish slavery with the mindset of, well, if we could just maybe get rid of just a little bit of slavery, right? Then maybe that'll just be good enough. No, you don't fight and win a war with lots of bloodshed that almost tore the soul of this nation apart by being a weak compromiser. No, that's not who we are. The GOP of my Negro ancestors, they were full of fighters, both white and black. So if these disgruntled black bred Democrats who are beholden to the culture and the social construct of blackness, if they're expecting the GOP to bow down to their socialistic big government, a program for this and a program for that, those types of demands, they're going to be very disappointed. Very disappointed. Let's be clear. Being pissed off at the Democrats, it is a great position to finally be in. You should be angry. However, the solution isn't to run to the GOP with the same mindset and the same worldview. No, I'm trying to help you, right? I made this same mistake, and so I want to help you. So many black folks, they find it difficult to embrace conservative values because they've been black bred so much that they really believe that government is the answer to all of their problems. They believe that. They want more government. They want the government to tell them what to do, where to go, how much money they can make, how much they should pay someone else. They want the government to tell them if they can have guns, and if so, well, how many and what kind, right? They want the government to pay for all of their health care. They want the government to pay for all of their educational needs. They want the government to tell them which doctor they can go to, which doctor they can't go to, which medicine they can take, which medicine they can't take. They want the government to tell them when to open their church, when to close their church. They want the government to tell them if they can open their business, and if so, well, what kind of business can you open? What kind of bathrooms you need to have inside of said business? They want the government to tell them that they can't have plastic straws, and that they want the government to tell them what kind of car to drive, what kind of fuel you need to have. They want the government to tell them how much income they can earn before they need to know about it. They want the government. They want the government to give them a guaranteed check every single month. And then they want the government to say, this is how much you can spend on food for your family. And if you get this much, these are the kinds of foods that you can buy. They want the government to tell them you need to educate your children this way. And if you don't do it the government's way, then you must not be doing it right. The cultural and social construct of blackness, it has been black breeding you to love Big Daddy government. And the ones who love his dirty draws the most are the matriarchal minded females of the community. Yes, I said it. It's okay. Y'all, I'm prepared to lose a whole lot of subscribers. I really don't care anymore. I have to get this out. Why do you think they keep propping up all these black women and ignoring black men like they don't even exist? You think it's because they just love you and your black girl magic so much that they just can't resist you because you just all of your magic goodness? No. They love you because they know that you are the least protected, not from the world, but from the covering of a strong man that ain't afraid to reel you in and tell you no. And you were black bred to do exactly that. And it's been working for a very long time. Now, not all, but overwhelmingly, a large percentage of Black women, they love to have the government take care of them. It's all they know. They are very rarely placed in a position to where they have had to suffer the consequences of their bad choices. Why? Because Big Daddy government, he gonna swoop right on in. He coming to save them, helping them to avoid accountability. That's another product of Black breeding, by the way. Right? Like the Black bred females, oh, they are heavily resistant to personal responsibility and accountability. And that's done on purpose too. This is one of the reasons why the matriarchy cesspool of Black single motherhood is so high. And it ain't that it's just high, it's desirable. And in fact, it's now even being encouraged by the left. You don't need no man. The government's the new husband, especially in the inner city. Oh, when you examine this on a granular level, who by and large are the teachers in the public educational system? Black women. And of this cohort, how many of them actually support and push for school choice? Very few. Very few. Here's another example. Who by and large, overwhelmingly, are all the social workers? Black women. You don't think that this is all part of the Great Society? Welcome to the Great Society. Now, it ain't that great, and it was never really designed to be great, but this is what you get when you adopt and co-sign to the cultural and social construct of Blackness, and you are Black bred to live, think, and move within this construct, never questioning why you're doing the things that you're doing. Why do you believe the things that you believe? You never question it.